I have not covered that particular book or that particular topic. My only suggestion to all of you at this point of time will be, please stop any kind of new content from today. In an examination like prelims, where there is a lot of information that you need to retrieve out of your mind for solving questions in the exam, it's important that your mind is fresh. It's important that your cognitive abilities are working at their premium. On the day of the exam, what I would suggest is that for the last few hundred meters, just walk, just breathe in the air, look at the sky, look at the trees, do not talk to anyone, do not think about any question. Has shown to have better effects on controlling anxiety than any kind of meditation also. The instant effects on controlling anxiety is much better than this, than meditation or any other kind of mindfulness activity as this could be. A very good morning to all of you. For all of you who are preparing in the prelims examination on Sunday, I thought that this is the right time to interact and to speak to you just a few hours before the examination. I'd like to begin with a story. On 2nd of April 2011, when India was playing the final of the World Cup against Sri Lanka, we were chasing 275 runs for victory. Our 3 wickets were lost, and everyone expected that the man of the tournament, Yuvraj Singh, who had done tremendously in that particular tournament, would walk into bat, but he didn't. Rather, it was the captain of the Indian cricket team, MS Dhoni, who walked in. He took the risk on himself. He scored 91 runs, not out, as we all know. And he hit the 6 that we probably have seen 1,000 times on the TV screens. MS Dhoni was not a more skilled batsman than Yuvraj Singh on that particular day. Nor was he in a better form than Yuvraj Singh on that particular day, but yet he ended up winning India that particular World Cup on that day. And that's what the Sunday exam is all going to be about. There may be many candidates who may be having more knowledge than you. They must have prepared for a number of years, and you may be going into the exam with your first attempt. But you have equally and probably even a better chance than most of them if your mind is in the right place. The Sunday exam is not going to be about knowledge. When the clock strikes 9:30 on 24th of May morning, it's not going to be about how much you know. You already know enough. I'm sure that most of you have done multiple revisions, and even if you have not, you have enough amount of conceptual clarity to do well in the exam. The exam is actually going to test how much your mind is available on that particular day. So even an MS Dhoni with possibly lesser skills and a poorer form than someone else can do better on that particular day, simply because the mind is available, simply because you're going to be more mentally prepared for the exam. And how do you do well in that room full of strangers when you have 2 hours precisely to mark the options and to score the marks in the prelims examination is what I'm going to be talking about for the next few minutes. Usually a few days before the examination, the fear that kicks into our mind is that I have not covered that particular book or that particular topic, or our friend comes up to us with some new notes or some new set of questions that we don't know the answers to. And the instant temptation within us is to cover that one extra chapter, or to read that one extra page, or to just go through something extra that will give us some extra marks in the examination. My only suggestion to all of you at this point of time will be that please stop any kind of new content from today. If you have not read anything by Friday evening, it is definitely not going to save you on Sunday morning. But what can actually save you is some amount of sleep. It's very important to have a rested mind. It's very important to have a good sleep one day before the examination. There was a study that was performed at UC Berkeley several years back on sleep and cognition. And what it showed was that retrieval from our memory is much higher when our mind is better rested. So if you are getting 6 hours of sleep, your mind would be probably working at 60-70% of its capacity. If you've got 8 hours of sleep, you can expect your mind to be able to work at its fullest. In an examination like prelims, where there is a lot of information that you need to retrieve out of your mind for solving questions in the exam, it's important that your mind is fresh. It's important that your cognitive abilities are working at their premium, are working at their best. And for that, you need to rest yourself. So therefore, my suggestion would be that a few hours or day before the examination, please make sure that you get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Possibly a day before the examination, what I would suggest is that do not sleep during the day, because then it will help you to sleep early at night. Also, possibly on Saturday, you could be involved in some light physical activity which will tire you up a bit, so that by the time it's 9:30, 10, 10:30 in the night, you are hitting the bed and you sleep instantly. In fact, another way could be that possibly on Saturday morning, you could try getting up a bit early. So then you would have a slightly longer day on Saturday, but by the time it is night, you would already be very tired. And the moment you go to the bed, you'd be able to fall asleep. At the same time, I must also tell you that many of us go through the anxiety of not being able to sleep properly a night before the exam. So don't take stress of it. If at all you're not able to sleep a night before the exam, I would still suggest that just keep lying down in your bed with lights completely shut down, phones completely put away, and with your eyes shut. At some point of time or the other, you're going to fall asleep, even if due to whatever anxiety and reasons you have not been able to get sleep on that particular night. So that's another important thing which is to be kept in mind as far as a night or a day before the examination is concerned. Another very important thing. We have seen many students, those who are really hardworking, those who have been really deserving of success in the examination, missing out on writing the examination a lot of times, prelims and mains, because they reached the center late, or they ended up reaching a center but they possibly ended up at a wrong school. Often what happens is that the schools have similar kind of names, especially in UPSC. The exam centers that they will allocate to you will be government schools. So there may be a government senior secondary school, and then there'll be a government secondary school, or there'll be a government senior secondary school for girls, and there'll be a government senior secondary school for boys. And if you end up mixing up any of these things, you may end up literally ruining 1 year of your life. So therefore, my suggestion will be, if you are in the city, and if it is possible, so for someone in your family or for you, to just drive past the exam center a day before the exam, that will be the best thing to do. So that you can figure out where is the gate for entry, where do I need to go, if my parents are dropping me, where do they need to park, etc., and all of those things. So all the logistics are figured out in that way. Just in case if you are using public transport, so it's important that you figure out the public transport mode as well a day before. You know that which metro station you need to exit, which gate you need to exit, why. If you're going to be taking a bus, then where is the bus stop going to be, how much I need to walk from there. If I'm taking an auto rickshaw, or I'm taking an Uber or an Ola or whatever, then I need to know that exactly where I need to get down. So therefore, some kind of familiarity with the exam center a day before the exam is going to be really helpful for all of you. Another thing which you should do before the exam is that try and reach the exam center with a gap of at least 30 to 45 minutes. So if the exam is scheduled at 9:30, and if UPSC says that you are supposed to be there by 9 o'clock, I would suggest that you should try to be there by 8:15 to 8:30. I understand that you may be reaching the exam center half an hour early, and you may have to wait, and it's slightly hot, especially in most parts of India at this point of time. But I would still suggest that it would be a better strategy than to be running at the last moment to only find that the guard at the exam center closes the gate at your face. So you do not want that kind of a situation to arise. So therefore, plan in advance. There are any kind of exigencies that can happen in this country. It could be possibly a rally, it could be a protest, it could be some kind of a shutdown, it could be anything. and therefore you need to be prepared for all the contingencies, because this is an important exam. You people have been preparing so hard. We definitely do not want that there comes a situation where you go into the examination hall and you do not really are not able to give the exam itself. Another important thing, one day before the exam, I would say that just put your phone on flight mode at 9 o'clock, possibly even 6 o'clock. Whatever time that you have, watch movies, listen to music, read a book, speak to your friends, talk to family, just do something which gives you joy. But one night before the exam, something extra that you will be studying will not really fetch you a selection. This is something that I can tell to you from my own experience. Several times, especially in the first attempt or so, it happened with me that I would try and grasp a lot of information a day before the exam. But when I walked into the examination hall and finally when I opened the question paper, I realized that what was I really worrying about? And that's something which you also need to think. The other thing is that please prepare the kit for the exam hall properly. Have your admit card ready, have multiple pens ready. I have seen this also with many students that they end up just taking one pen. Take at least 2 or 3 so that if at least one fails, you have the other one. So that's another thing. Take a pencil as well, so that even if, let's say, on your question paper, you want to mark something for your own memory, for your reference, which all questions you have attempted, etc. So then you have a pencil for that. Carry one original ID with you. Ensure that you're carrying an analog watch, because that will then help you to keep a track of time, not a digital one, because the digital one may be disallowed at the center by the security and the kind of arrangements that UPSC has put into place. And ensure that you have all of these things ready, so that when you get up in the morning, you're not really preparing for all of these things. These are small things, but they can really make a huge difference to your routine on the day of exam. Whatever clothes that you're going to be wearing, please put them also aside, so that when you get up in the morning, everything is in place and everything just works like clockwork. So that's another important thing that we have to keep in mind if we have to be well prepared for the exam. On the day of the exam, what are the things to keep in mind? Just ensure that you're following the routine things. This is an image from one of my favorite movies of all time, Perfect Days. It's a Japanese movie made by Wim Wenders. The protagonist, every day, through his routine, he's a sweeper in Tokyo. He goes and sits in a park and just does the routine things, and every day he looks at the trees, and every day he looks at the patterns that are made by the sun and the trees, and just enjoys and just relaxes. On the day of the exam, what I would suggest is that for the last few 100 meters, just walk, just breathe in the air, look at the sky, look at the trees, do not talk to anyone, do not think about any question, do not speak to anyone. Did you look at that question? Did you look at those notes? Did you read that book? Nothing. Just walk in with a very important thing that I feel that most of the students often forget with them when they are going to the exam hall, and that is a smile. Just walk into the examination center with a smile, and you will see that it will do wonders to the way you attempt the exam. Possibly carry a small energy snack with you, maybe a protein bar or something, so that if at all before the exam or after it, at some point of time, you feel like just having a quick snack, something which is not very heavy, because often when we are going through the exam cycle, we are a bit anxious as well. It's very natural, and therefore you would not like eating a lot. So eat something light. If you do not eat breakfast, for example, I would suggest that do not eat breakfast on that particular day then. If you've been eating breakfast, then eat breakfast. But don't do something out of the ordinary on the day of the examination. Just ensure that your body, your mind is experiencing the similar kind of things that it has been on a daily basis while it is giving the exam, so that it does not feel overwhelmed with the occasion. So that's another important thing that we need to observe. Then, when we are in the examination hall, what are the things that we need to do at that point of time? And I'm not going to tell you which question to attempt first, etc., and all of those things. We have discussed about it multiple number of times. There was a study that was published at Stanford in 2023. And they said that if you inhale through your nose and then you exhale slowly through your mouth, and if you do this exercise 5 times, just a deep breathe and then exhaling 5 times, this has shown to have better effects on controlling anxiety than any kind of meditation also. The instant effects on controlling anxiety is much better than this, than meditation or any other kind of mindfulness activity as this could do. So just a simple breathing exercise. When you're sitting there in the examination hall, waiting for the question paper to come to you, take those 5 deep breaths. Your lungs will open up, which often get stressed during anxiety, that collapse, your alveoli collapse under anxiety, and they open up much faster when you do this kind of an exercise. So deeply breathe and ensure that you are feeling all the calmness in the world. Of course, there will be anxiety, and which is okay. I've discussed this multiple times earlier as well, that when there is a certain amount of anxiety, when we are writing any examination or when we have any big moment in life, it always ends up boosting our performance significantly. Being overstimulated or being overexcited is also a problem, but not having any kind of excitement, any kind of anxiety in our hearts also does not lead to optimum performance. So you need to find a good balance between the two of them. When the question paper comes in front of you, do not just start reading the questions in anxiety. Just take a few minutes. Just brush through the question paper for first 2-3 minutes. You're not going to lose time. I'm sure that most of you, those who would have written the mocks, would know that 2 hours is enough to attempt 100 questions. So it's never going to be about time. So take the first 2-3 minutes easy on you. Second, and a very important thing about attempting the paper, and I will be discussing about these cutoffs as well, is that do not in any case go overboard with the paper in terms of difficulty, etc., and all of those things, in a sense that do not think that the paper is very difficult or very easy in the first instance. After half an hour to 45 minutes, you will be able to form a good judgment of the same. Do not try to form that judgment in the first 5 minutes. Just go through the paper and just try to assimilate what it is all about this year. Every UPSC paper every year is very different. The difficulty level varies a lot, and that's what I'm trying to show here with the help of the cutoffs that have been witnessed in the last few years. You can see that in 2023, we had witnessed one of the toughest exams, and the cutoff went down drastically from the 80s and the 90s that we were witnessing. 2019 was significantly easier, so the cutoff went to 98. The point that I'm basically trying to make is that how well or poorly you will do in the exam in terms of marks will not be decided necessarily by the exam itself, but by your own temperament. This is one question that often arises from the students, that how many questions should we attempt? And this is a very legitimate question. If you attempt 100 questions with 50% accuracy, your score will be 67. You can do the maths later. If you attempt 70 questions with 75% accuracy, your score will be 92. If you attempt 85 questions with 65% accuracy, your score will be 90. What does that tell me? That my sweet spot has to be somewhere between 70 to 80, 85 questions. That's usually the number that any serious candidate would end up attempting in the exam. But my suggestion will be that this can vary a lot according to the difficulty of the exam. If you have faith on your preparation, and if you're not able to attempt more than 70, it is okay. Until unless you arrive at some questions where you are able to eliminate 2 options, then if you feel like taking a risk, you may take risk in that situation, but otherwise, do not take that risk unnecessarily. I have seen many candidates panicking in the examination because they thought that the paper is very easy. They formed the judgment in the first 10 minutes. They ended up attempting 95, 100. And later on, they came to realize that the paper was actually very difficult. This is the same year when I am talking about. This is 2023. One of my students, she went and gave the examination. After the exam, she told me that I ended up attempting all the 100 questions. Because initially, I thought that the paper is very easy by looking at some of the questions. But it's only now that I'm realizing that the paper was difficult. She actually was able to get 60 questions correct. Had she just stayed calm and not attempted those extra 40 questions unnecessarily, she would have been able to easily qualify the cutoff. Cutoff was very low, but she could not qualify prelims that year. Next year, she went ahead and she scored a top 100 rank because she was able to control her nerves and her mind in a much better manner the next year. It was not the preparation. She came and told me that, sir, there was nothing different in my preparation with respect to prelims at least. In mains, I of course put in a lot of effort this year, but there was no difference in my preparation for prelims. The only thing which differed was my attempt per se and my strategy in the exam. Don't waste time on those questions which you think, at least in the first go, you will not be able to solve. And that's why it becomes very important to identify which are the questions that you are absolutely sure of, which are the questions that you are slightly unsure of, and which are the questions you have no clue about. You have to divide your attempt into these three categories when you're going through the question for the first time. The ones that I'm absolutely sure of, I have to attempt them in the first go itself. The ones that I'm slightly unsure of, I will mark them with a circle or something, whatever sign that I have, and then try to figure them out later. The ones that I'm absolutely not sure of, do not waste your time on that. At least not in the beginning. Maybe if you have time left in the end, you can look at those questions. But in that also, at times you would have seen while attempting the mock tests, there are some questions that on the first glance of it look very difficult, but later on you can find the answer easily. And therefore, you have to be careful about that as well. But at the same time, if there is a question which you think is extremely tough, even though it may be from a familiar topic, please do not waste your time and energy on that question. It's important for you to identify what to focus on and what not to focus on in the exam. You see, in 1991, in Tokyo World Athletic Championships, Carl Lewis, who was a short distance runner, had done extremely poorly on the qualifying races. He had run his slowest time in the qualifying races with what is called as the heats. But when it came to the finals, he ran his best. He conserved his energy for the last, and he broke the world record that day. So what that teaches us is that we need to know what are the battles that we need to fight for. What are the battles that are worth fighting for? We should not be wasting our time on those questions which we know which would not pay much dividend to us. Then, between the two papers is also something which is very important. Do not discuss paper with your friends. Do not discuss paper with your roommate. Do not discuss with your father, with your teacher, with anyone. Whatever time break that you have between the GS paper and the CSAT paper, which is roughly going to be 2.5 hours, use that time to just take a break. There is a book that I had written several years back. It's a book which is called as The Choke. It's written by an author called as Jan Biloch. And in that book, the author says that often we feel this kind of a thing, we have this kind of feeling at times that my mind went blank. I was not able to think. When our mind goes blank, do you really think that your memory is lost? No. We are able to often recollect the same thing a few minutes later, but our mind still goes blank and we are not able to think. What happens is that our immediate working memory is taken over by anxiety and it gets clouded, and we are not able to think and utilize the information that we already have. Imagine that the working memory which you have in your mind is like a small whiteboard, and which actually has the information on what you are actually thinking. If in the CSAT paper, your mind is stuck on that X question which I could not solve in the GS paper, ultimately what would happen is that your performance in CSAT would end up getting affected. So therefore, it's important that you are able to detach yourself from what happened in the GS paper. Do not overanalyze. Do not analyze. Don't keep analyzing your preparation. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? What I studied? Am I able to solve the questions? Do all that analysis later. Right there in the examination hall, your working memory mind should be focused completely on only and only solving that particular question that is in front of you. See, the CSAT paper has become extremely difficult. It is one paper which has become make or break for many of our candidates in the past. Despite doing well in GS, many candidates falter in CSAT. Reading comprehension passages, RCs have become much more denser, much longer. Quantitative aptitude questions have become much more trickier. There is no way around it, but you have to find your way through it. Skim through the paper in the first few minutes, identify which section is seemingly looking easier this year. Usually UPSC tends to have either the RC section or the quantitative aptitude section, one of them as tougher than the other. Your idea should be to identify which one is easier this year and try and maximize your score there. I don't need to get 115 CSAT. I just need to qualify the cutoff. Don't go in with a predetermined mindset. Some of our students have gone in with a predetermined mindset in the past, and what they have done is that they ended up looking at only RCs and they realized that the quantitative aptitude questions were much easier. They left them. That's where the real score lied, and they ended up missing the bus for the mains examination. So that's something which we have to keep in mind again if we have to do well in the prelims examination, right? Before I end, please do remember that, and this is something which is very important, there is a chance that Sunday may not be your day. Sunday may not go your way. The paper might be much harder than what you expect it to be. A question might just trap you. You might be caught in the middle of certain questions. You might walk out feeling that a year has been wasted. But I just want you to tell one story here. Abraham Lincoln, when he was contesting for the state legislature in the United States of America in 1832, he lost. He started a business in 1833. It failed. He wanted a congressional nomination in US in 1843. That also failed. He lost his son in 1850. He wanted to get into the Senate in 1855. He was not able to make it. He lost the vice presidential nomination in 1856. And then in 1858, he again lost the elections to the Senate. But you see, in 1860, he went on to become the President of the United States of America, perhaps the greatest President of the United States of America, and ended slavery. There was a 28-year journey between failure and between his first election and his greatest one. What I want to remind you, therefore, is that whatever happens on Sunday, you already have done the hard part of preparation for the exam. You already have shown up. That is most important thing in any such competitive examination. You have prepared, you have given your best, you have given your time, you have given your attention, you have given your energy, you have given your focus. On Sunday morning, all that you need to do is just breathing deeply. It's just believing in yourself. Stay calm, stay steady, believe that you would do well. अगर मेरा नहीं होगा तो किसी का नहीं होगा. मैंने इतनी मेहनत करी है, I will get the outcomes for my efforts. So therefore, with that story, wishing all of you all the very best for the prelims examination. And I hope that the amount of effort, hard work that you have put in pays off really well on this Sunday. All the best again. Do well.